Hello, hello, hello. This is Patrick Stack, co-founder of Sports Biz Camps. Really excited to welcome our keynote presenter, Blake Lawrence, CEO, co-founder of Opendorse. Blake, welcome to your Sports Biz Camps Career Exploration Camp experience.
Dude, I'm super happy to be here. Excited for the next 45 minutes, however much time you guys give me to share a story or two, maybe say some things I haven't said other places, and I don't know,
It's gonna be
get the kids a little bit more details, get learned in the next 30, 45 minutes.
That's what we want. Speaking of getting learned, I want to introduce Christian Murray. Christian is our locker room leader. So for those that are watching and excited and interested to learn what Blake has to say, if you have questions, please drop those on the right side of the screen in the chat function. Christian is going to review those questions, and every 7 or 10 minutes, we'll be asking those questions from the audience. Make sure that they're appropriate and on brand and in the spirit of this professional environment. And Christian will ask those. If you decide not to be that way, Christian is the hall monitor and will be kicking you out of the chat. So don't be that person. Christian, you don't want to play hall monitor, do you?
I do. I actually wanted to. That was my favorite job growing up.
All right, well, there you go. We picked you well. So Blake, give us a little bit of background about yourself. You're from Nebraska, but kind of walk us through your background, and then specifically talk through your relationship with sports as a former student athlete.
Got it, man. And Patrick, I know that we talked about this. I'm gonna doodle. I'm gonna draw every once in a while. I don't know how many times you see somebody start using this whiteboard on Zoom, but I figured I'll introduce you to my story by drawing some things for you. If that's cool.
Very cool.
And don't judge. It could get a little sloppy, but I'll take you through it. So this is an old football helmet. So guys, I'm a football player through and through. I grew up playing football ever since I was little, and I was the little brother, right? So this is me, little stick figure me, and old big brother over here, and Tyler, my older brother, was a football player as well, right? And so since we were little, we were running around playing ball. But I was more than a football player, and this will kind of come full circle for you guys. I was a little entrepreneurial, right? And I'll take you back to a time when, I was in third grade, my brother's in fourth grade, and we were out at the playground, right? And we were, hanging out, and this is us looking at everybody on the playground, right? And we saw that the cool kids on the playground were the ones that had candy bars. I mean, these guys were holding up that Hershey bar real loud and proud, and they were the coolest kids, and everybody was loving them, And we're like, dang, man, like it would be really interesting, not if we could be a cool kid and have the candy bar, but if we could find a way to be the plug for the candy bars on the playground. So what we did is we went and did a stakeout. Okay, we went to the teacher's lounge, and we took our lunch money, right? So we had about $1 each or $2 each a day, and we would take that in, and we would go into the teacher's lounge when nobody was there and sneak out and come out with some candy bars, right? And what we would do is these candy bars like 50 cents a pop, and we would sell these things for $1 to all the other kids on the playground. And so every day we were doubling our money. And when I think about like my story and the things that make it a little bit unique aside from sports, it's moments like this, right? So all the way back when I was 8, 9 years old, find a way to solve problems, a little bit different. This story lasted some time until we were caught red-handed with a bunch of candy bars in our pockets in the teacher's lounge. And principal called my dad and said, hey, I'm not really mad. I'm impressed. These guys are hustling over here. And, I think about my journey from there to going through high school. And, it turns out that I was a pretty gifted athlete. My older brother had chosen to go play football at Kansas, right? So he went to KU. This is old, I'm gonna put a football helmet on him, right? And he goes to KU. You guys can still see my screen, right? You see that? That's thumbs up. Everybody got that? Okay, cool. So for me, being the little brother, seeing my brother go to KU, I decided that, I wanted to finally beat this guy, right? So I went over to old Nebraska, right? So I got recruited cross country, fell in love with Nebraska, decided to go there. And the year is 2007, okay? 2007, we show up, and I'm thinking I'm finally going to whoop my brother's butt. And then we lost 76 to 39 in a football game to the University of Kansas. I think to myself in that time, what twilight zone am I in? Like, this is not supposed to happen. Kansas is not good at football. I'm supposed to beat my brother. They go 12-1, win the Orange Bowl. We went 5-7. Coach gets fired. Like, my whole world's upside down. And like, that's that first moment where everybody's listening. Like, the way in which you predict things to go, most likely are not the way they're going to go. It's kind of how you react to it. And I'll take you through that story and kind of where it ended up. But like, that's what gets me to being a 18-year-old spry little football player. Played as a true freshman at Nebraska, and I'll pause my story there. I'll turn off the whiteboard, see where you want me to take it from
here. Chris, you want to ask a question from the chat?
Yes, we actually have a question from Zach in our chat. He asked, what impact has your brother had on your life, and how has he been an inspiration for you?
That's a good question, man. I would say that everybody on this call, I mean, you have somebody that's there to support you or that cares for you, regardless of what happens on the test or in the game or, in the competition, whatever. Like, they're just there for you, and, whoever that is in your life, like for me, that's been my brother. And there was a moment, I'm going to bring back this whiteboard, right? And I'll take you back to another story. So I ended up becoming the starting linebacker at Nebraska from 2007 to 2008 and 2009. I'm a starting linebacker in Nebraska. Okay, so you see this whole helmet here, and then something happened. I midway through my junior season, I suffered my fourth concussion in a little over a year, and for me, I meant I could never play football again. Right. So I woke up the starting linebacker in Nebraska and went to sleep, and I could never play the game I loved again. And I haven't since. And, in that moment, there are a few people that are just there for you. And that was my brother. And, that's somebody I've looked up to and somebody that's been a part of my life. And, for me, like, his career didn't go the way he wanted. He played 3 years at Kansas and stepped away from the game, just got his degree and was done. And so in that moment, like, he helped me, carry through that. And I think that anybody in a pivotal moment in their life, just know that you're not alone, that everyone at some point has had that moment where who they thought they were, what they thought they're going to do is gone in an instant. And it feels like an identity crisis, but you're not alone. I mean, like, again, everyone in this call has been in that point in their life. And so for me, talking to my brother and talking to my family, and it was one of those, like, all this time, all this energy and that you've put into football, what if you could spend that you get that time back? Like, what else do you care about? What else do you love? And then that became, for me, entrepreneurship, right? So ever since I was a little kid, I always wanted to solve problems differently. And now that football is gone for me, I had another path, an opportunity to find a new identity. And if what got me to be a starting linebacker, and this is my brother, giving me this advice, and said, hey, if what you went, what you put into becoming the starting linebacker in Nebraska, if you put that into your next thing, like, you will have success no matter what. And I have found that success. I found that in the last 10 years of being an entrepreneur and starting a couple of businesses and having some fun along the way. So everyone's got those moments where something changes and you find roots with people that are there to support you no matter what happens.
Blake, you're essentially talking about failure, right?
Yeah.
Everyone, even Michael Jordan, was someone told him he couldn't play anymore. You were forced to not play, and at an age earlier than what you wanted. I know you had some support from your brother, and I know you had obviously motivation. Do you ever wonder if that really has helped you professionally, that failure, that setback that you obviously didn't wish for, but how it's helped propel you to be successful now? Kind of just talk through that, because that failure and adversity is really something every one of our students is going to deal with, especially when it comes to sports.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, that's one thing that if I would have played one more day or gone about it differently, tried to force this thing, then one, it could have impacted my health, but also I wouldn't have that that moment where it's like, that was a really tough time, guys. I played football ever since I could walk, and something I had no control over. I had reached the pinnacle. I'm a black shirt at Nebraska, and I could never play the game again. The one thing I'd done, like, more consistently than anything. If I can get through that, I mean, you know, like, there's a lot of stuff that could come your way that it's going to be not so bad, right? And I did. I mean, the sun keeps rising, and the world keeps spinning, and I love it. And the thing is, like, without that moment, that next failure that comes when you start a business, and you know you gotta fire your childhood best friend, and he doesn't talk to you for 7 years. You know, like that's tough. But I've been through something before. So a failure, sometimes in the moment you don't realize it, but you look back, it defines you. It defines the way in which you find resolve and learn from it and move on, and find ways, again, not to ignore it, but maybe embrace it as a springboard into the next opportunity.
Thank you for addressing that. I think it's an awesome lesson for our students. So shifting gears, you're no longer a black shirt. Now you're just a normal student like most of us. You jumped pretty quickly right into the entrepreneurship game. Can you talk a little bit about that experience before we kind of segue into what you're doing with Opendorse?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, and I'm just going to go right back to this whiteboard. I'm going to start with the fresh slate. All right. So here I am, all of 20 years old. My career is behind me, and I'm like, what the heck do I do next? And less than a month after I'm done playing football, the entrepreneur itch like comes to me, and I start this website. And this is a bird. This guys look like a bird, Christian. That's a pretty good bird. All right, and it's my Twitter diary, like the old Twitter bird, right? And at the time, I'm using Twitter like a diary. It's 2009, and I'm like, in 40 years, I'm not going to have access to my Twitter account, so I want to turn this into a hard copy book, and maybe other people will too. So I started the site where people could give me their Twitter username, and I would turn their tweets into a hardcover book. You can see I'm still excited about it. I think it's a great idea. It probably already exists now. And I was so excited about it that I made negative $53 on this venture, like super successful. I sold one of them to somebody I pretty much tricked into buying it, right? But what happened, guys, is that I got contacted just randomly by, this is a palm tree. You guys, Christian, don't judge my drawings too much, right? Jeff, I know this is better than you can draw, but that's all right. I get an investor out of Florida calls me up, right? He got a phone call, and this is, he calls me and says, hey, found your website, and, I'm trying to find ways people can monetize Twitter. Twitter's not even making money on Twitter. I think this is a novel idea. Let's talk about it. So, like, we start to draft up business plans, of how we're going to take my Twitter diary to the next level, make all this money, and, like, maybe he could give me some cash to get this thing started. Well, after a couple months, guy disappears. Like, basically we don't do the deal. Nothing happened. And so I'm sitting here, I'm out $53. Everyone's, oh, bum, oh, woe is me. But in that moment, I didn't lose anything. I gained superior confidence, because why wait? I mean, like, for me, I was like, dang, I don't know what the heck to do with my life. This social media thing's interesting. I can get the attention of an investor out of Florida. I'm 20 years old. I was playing linebacker 2 months ago. Now I'm talking about, spreadsheets and term sheets. So for me, that was an aha, right? And so even though this didn't work, I got this niche into social media. And what I realized, I took a job in Lincoln, Nebraska, while I was still getting my MBA taken care of. And I took a job with this business owner, okay? Look, and he's a sad little business owner. And I go, hey, business owner, why are you so sad? And he's like, well, because all my customers are over here, and they are talking about my business, on Twitter, and, this is Twitter, they're talking on Facebook and LinkedIn. And I want to be a part of the conversation. And I said, well, why do you want to be a part of the conversation? Well, because if they know about me, then maybe they can become customers of mine. And I'm like, okay, so what's the problem here, dude? And dude says, well, I don't have time to do social media. It's like, well, that's all right. What if you had time? It's like, well, honestly, I don't really even know how social media works. This is a light bulb. Does it look like a light bulb? cool. And I'm cheap, so I don't want to pay like a full-time person. So maybe you can do it for me? And I'm like, so just like tweet for you? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, that's a job? And he said, yeah. I said, okay, I'll tweet for you. So what happened was I sat down and I didn't just start tweeting for him. I created a plan. I just said, okay, here's a calendar. Here's when I'm going to tweet. This is what I'm going to say. And I'm going to send this stuff out. And then I'm going to measure it, what works. And so I started off as an intern making like $10 an hour or less, helping this business owner share content with his customers on social media, turn them into people that love them. And what happened is after the first 6 months, we generated, so in 6 months, we generated $200,000 in new business for this guy. Yeah, all through Twitter, LinkedIn, blogs, YouTube, all this stuff. And he, like, keep your eyes on this dude over here, right? This guy was very happy. Okay, so I'm sitting around and I'm having a conversation with my roommate, one of my best friends in Nebraska. His name is Audie Kanalik. Okay, and this is what Audie looks like. He wears a chin strap beard, and this is what he looks like. He's kind of got a little balding going on. All right, and Audie and I are having a conversation one day, and he's going into his senior year at Nebraska, and he's a kicker. And he's like, dude, I don't want to work for anybody after I'm done. Like, we should do something. Like, we've been roommates all the time. We've been talking entrepreneurial ideas. Like, we always had these concepts. And he's like, what if we started something? I was like, well, I mean, I'm helping this dude, right? I'm like, hey, I'm helping this guy. And it works. Like, you just manage social media. You find people that want to buy his stuff, and then they buy his stuff, and he gets really happy, And he said, well, that's interesting. What if we didn't just do it for one dude? Like, what if we did it for lots of dudes? Lots of companies around the Midwest that probably have the same problem. They don't have time for social media. They don't know how it works. And, they want to pay us because we're pretty dang cheap. And I said, shoot, let's do it. So in the summer of 2010, Audie and I started to work on a business plan where we would take this concept that we were, helping this one dude and say, let's not help one business owner make money through social media. Let's help thousands. And that became the foundation for our very first company, which is called Heard That, which is a silly ass name. Sorry for my language. Don't know if I can say that. Sorry for that. Pat, just bleep me out. But it is a silly name. But the domain name was available. All the social media channels were ours. And so Heard That it was. Heard That still exists. Check it out, hearddat.com. I'm going to pause. I can go a lot of different ways from here, but this is the pre-Opendorse days.
Amazing story. Obviously, one way to have a job is, one way to get a job is create a job. And it was interesting. You were kind of testing and learning along the way. Like, you're like, oh, look, someone will pay me for this. I'll do this more. And if it's not broke, keep doing it.
Yeah, and that's the part where everyone's got a different path to where they are, and no path is right, no path is wrong. It's just your path. And curiosity can bring you to a lot of different places, and the deeper you go into these things, the more problems you realize. And if you keep solving those problems, then you can create more value for yourself and kind of find a little bit of a niche, And I like to think that first month after I was done playing football is as formative and for my life than anything else I've done, as I just leaned into one thing, which is social media. And since then, my entire career has been built on understanding that if you say the right thing at the right place, right time online, people care, right? You can change a community, you can change consumer behavior, you can change culture. And so everything that Heard That, our first company, did was helping businesses and brands use social media to say the right thing, right place, right time. And then in 2011, not too long after we got started, we started to work with athletes and realized that if these guys say the right thing, right place, right time, it truly changes the community, consumer behavior, and culture, unlike any business or any brand. And I would love to dive into the details of that. But again, I'll pause and see if there's anything you want me to doodle.
I do, before we jump into Opendorse, I do want to make sure we address that. Christian, any question that you or the chat has for Blake?
And this kind of leads into the next point, which is from Greeks Blakenberg in our audience. So growing up in the Midwest, how did you become introduced into the sports business world, being that there were few opportunities in the Midwest?
Side note, he also saw you play against Wake Forest in 2007.
Oh, shoot.
Did you win that game?
We did win that game, and it was a close game. So one of my favorite moments from that game is I was a backup as a true freshman, as a backup to a guy named Bo Rude. Bo Rude was a fourth-year starting linebacker, all 4 years, stud. And he never came off the field. But after every play, I would go up to, like, you know, in sports when you're like, hey, somebody's tired, they tap their head. They're like, hey, dude, you need a sub? You need a sub? So after every play, guys, the first 3 games of the year, I'm like running the sidelines. Hey, you need a sub? And he's like, no, dude, like, get away from me. Like, I never come off the field. So it's fourth quarter. It's 3rd and 14. We're up by 3 points at Wake Forest. They're on the 40-yard line. And I go and I do the double tap. And he goes, and he waves me on the field. And I'm like, this is my first play at linebacker. I mean, I've been playing special teams. And it's 3rd and long, fourth quarter, only up by 3. Well, what could go wrong? Then the coach calls, he goes, Ollie, pop, Ollie, pop. And I'm like, in the moment, I'm like, I know that's a blitz, but I do not know what I have to do. I have no idea. So I pretend like I'm lining up in a gap, and another senior linebacker throws me on the other side of the center. Play happens. I get pancaked, right? I just get flushed. I just get knocked on my ass. And the linebacker who moved me over, he did that because the blitz was so that I was supposed to get hit and he could come around free. He made the tackle in the backfield. Sweet, right? I didn't know that. I was just like, all right, I'll try and get right here. And they got, put on my ass. We won that game though. And they did not get a first down. And I did not play linebacker again that game. I tell you that. Not for a couple more, but it was fun.
Very memorable pancake, apparently.
Oh my gosh, yeah. There's video evidence of this thing. I'll have to send it over to you.
Do you want to draw the whiteboard for that?
Boy, howdy, that would be a good diagram. So decent segue into this moment, and I'll draw something for you. How about that? All right, I'll start a new one. So you guys remember, Mr. Business Owner over here, and he's a happy dude, right? Because we're helping him, with all of his, customers that are on social media. They're using Facebook and Twitter and all that. And so we started this business to help the business owners connect with this audience. And what happened is in 2010, we started that company. And then talking about breaking into sports business, in 2011, I get a phone call. This is another, football helmet that's pretty good, right? And it's from one of my best friends, Prince Amukamara. So Prince Amukamara played cornerback at Nebraska, and he had just gotten drafted to the New York Giants in the first round of the NFL draft. And Prince says, hey, Blake, how you doing? I said, Prince, I'm doing well. How's that $19 million signing bonus treating you? And he said, doing quite well. Conversation shifted into social media. So he said, hey man, I know you're helping these business owners out on social media, making them happy. I want to find a way to, engage my fans too. I got 100,000 followers now. Like if I give them more stuff of what they like, then maybe they'll love me more. I can get more followers. I can make money through endorsements or support charities I care about. And I said, okay, that sounds good. And I said, well, why don't you just do it yourself? He goes, well, I don't really have time to do it myself. I am a pro athlete after all. And then I say, okay, well, what if you did have time? Well, I really honestly don't even know how to use social media. All right. And all right, well, then you can pay me. It's like, okay, even though I got that 19 milli, I'm going to pay you a very little small amount to help me out. I'm like, sweet. So we started to help Prince. And guys, like this was a moment in time that truly like put me down a whole nother rabbit hole of trying to figure out how to solve these problems and different things, because we would work our tails off, guys, to get, I mean, imagine this heart stands for 10 likes, right? 10 likes on a Facebook post, 10 likes on a Instagram post or tweet for a business. Prince could like take a picture of his feet, you know, post it online, and he would get 20 times the engagements. Like he would get 1,000 likes, you know? And I'm like, what the heck is going on here? And so no matter what happened, fans, like these people right here in the middle, they were 6 times more engaged with whatever this dude said than whatever this dude said. But if you think about it, guys, everyone that's listening, you're probably scrolling on your phone right now. Stop it, put it down, like scroll, tap, tap, scroll, tap, tap, like, retweet, favorite, whatever. When you see a face in your feed, right? So this business owner, like it would be his business account that's tweeting. But if you see a face in your feed, you slow your scroll. You're just going to stop. You want to know who this person is. And if it's an athlete that you care about, then you're going to read what they say. You're going to watch the video they share, right? It just this fascination that consumers have with athletes is a real thing. And social media has finally put a number to it, like a quantity to it. That if an athlete says something and the team they play for says something, the athlete will generate more fan engagements, more video views every single time, right? So I got hooked on this concept because I'm like, man, if he can provide this much value, like what if Mr. Business Owner, instead of, you know, going this route, what if we took him over here and said, hey, Mr. Business Owner, what if your message, instead of going, you know, straight to consumers, like you took that message and you had Prince share it, right? Then he talks about your business, and then those fans love your business, and you're turning, you know, that one message into 6 times more engagement just by having him say it instead of you. And I was so fanatical about this, I convinced some local businesses to do it. No, and about $100,000 worth of campaigns came through of people wanting to pay Prince and Niles Paul, like some of our buddies that are now in the NFL, paying them to tweet. This is like in 2011. This is before anyone's actually doing any of this stuff. And it was this moment where it's like, wow, these guys loved it, and so did the athletes. Like they were getting paid to tweet. Crazy concept, and they're getting paid $1,000, $2,000 to post one tweet, post one thing on Facebook. I mean, it's an incredible value. So I found myself, Audie and we found ourselves in the middle of sports business, again, just by trying to solve a problem for a friend, right? Helping him maximize his value on social and starting to line him up with these brands that would pay him to talk about things. And along the way, we found another way big problem, which is why we built Opendorse. But again, that's how we got into sports business, was really to help one athlete. And then I'll kind of steamroll it into what happens next.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's what we would kind of call in the industry like a sponsorship or a partnership. But I think you guys as high school students have probably heard like guilty by association. Like that's a negative connotation. It can also be positive. That you are who you hang out with. In this case, if you hang out with Prince Amukamara or Niles Paul and you're trying to attract Nebraska Cornhusker fans, boom, people are now going to pay attention. So it goes both ways. That's really the core of what you're talking about, is that relationship between a brand that people love and revere and what that brand is trying to accomplish.
Yeah. And like one way I think about that is, and gosh, I'm going to try this out. I've never drawn what I'm about to draw. Okay. But I'm going to try it. Okay. So this is, let's say this is a business, right? There's a biz. And then you got a biz here and you got fans down here. Okay. A business exists so they can tell a consumer, a fan, hey, we have a product and we think you should buy it. And then that fan goes, okay, I'll buy it, right? And so if the business could, they'd keep your attention 100% of the time and just keep telling you to buy stuff, and you would buy stuff, right? But people spend time on other things other than buying stuff, right? So let's say that you like sports teams. Like, so this is a team that you like in your local market. And I should write this better. All right, so you got a team, okay? So you start spending time with a team, and you're like, I go to games, and you know, I'm just a fan of this team. And so guess what? A business is going to say, well, dang it, those teams are getting all the attention. So they're going to go and pay that team money to talk about the business. So then you learn about that business from that team, and then you spend more money with that business. Okay. This is like this whole sponsorship side of things. Sponsorship. Okay. But you don't just go to games, you also watch it on TV. So you're talking about the media. So you're going to pay attention to the media over here. So if you're not going to the games, you're going to go on TV and watch the broadcast. So the business is sitting like, dag nabbit, we thought we caught them. They're now watching TV. So why don't we pay these TV people, right, some money, and they're going to tell right between the games that these guys exist, so that the fans are, they got me again. I'm going to go pay for more of that business, you know? And so this is called advertising, right? Anytime you see an ad on TV, that's advertising. But in the middle of this industry is the athlete, okay? Because guess what? Teams, you don't go to an arena, okay, and just sit in the stands and watch nothing happen. You don't turn on a TV and watch a blank, empty court. Like, you need athletes for sports to exist. Nobody's going to argue with that. Super important fact. So this last part of it is that once you realize that you have an affinity, like you love LeBron James, or you love Patrick Mahomes, or you love Prince Amukamara, then those businesses like that they're also going to pay those athletes to talk about them too. And that is what's called an endorsement. So a business paying an athlete to talk about them, that's an endorsement. So in this world that's been around for a long time, the athlete's always been at the center of it, you know? And when I talk about measuring things, like until the invention of social media, it was really hard to quantify how many people liked the athlete versus the team, you know, because they didn't exist separate from each other. You went to the games for the team, the athletes were there, so which one do you like? You watch the game on TV and the athletes are in the game, so which one do you like? But social media is now giving you a channel, like you get to choose. And so today on social media, fans, in terms of teams, let's say that the average engagement rate on a team post on social media is 0.2%. Okay. What that actually means, you don't even need to worry about that. Okay. On like a TV, like if you follow Bleacher Report or Overtime or CBS or ESPN, that sort of thing, they're around 0.6. Okay. So these guys are 3 times better. Like these guys over here, they are 3 times better at getting your attention than teams are. Okay. The average engagement rate for an athlete is 6%. What? That means if an athlete, team, and a league said the same thing at the same time, right? And there was 1,000 people that heard it, there would be 2 people. Let's do my maths right here. 2 people, they're like, yeah, go team, you know? And then there'd be 6 people, they're like, yeah, go TV. There would be 60 people. They're like, yeah, go athlete. This right here and the value of this direct connection between fans and whatnot makes endorsements one of the most valuable things in the future of sports business. And I believe in this so much that I've dedicated the last 10 years to solving this problem. That's what I do every single day is get people to realize that when athletes say the right thing, right place, right time, there's nothing more valuable in sports. And I would say nothing more valuable in entertainment and maybe in society.
Like, can you keep that? Oh, I was going to say, if you keep that whiteboard up.
You ready for it?
Yes.
It's not gone.
This whiteboard should be our logo for Sports Biz Camps. It shows the business of sports, right? You showed all the revenue streams, all the different stakeholders involved. You showed the value of the individual stakeholders involved as a point of reference to media, to team, to athletes. So thank you for doing the work that we've been trying to do for a couple of years and encapsulating it in one beautiful drawing.
It's so beautiful.
At the record show.
I'm going to save it for you.
One of our audience members, and we're coming up, we got a 10-minute warning, Blake. One of our audience members talked about a specific case study. Like, so we've understand now the value of the athlete versus the media and team. Can you walk us through a specific example of what Opendorse really does for that athlete? And maybe walk through how that actually works before we kind of start to shift gears towards just some life and career advice?
Yeah, certainly. So what we realized, and I'm going to draw this thing again, right, is so when that business decided that they want to work with that athlete, okay, I drew one here. This is an athlete in the middle, okay, but there's not just one. Like there are a lot of them, okay. So when you're trying to figure out how do I reach my fans, so because remember this business, all they're trying to do is reach this group of fans down here. And there's all these different ways to do it. They can go through the team, they can go through TV, they can go directly to them, whatnot. But they're trying to figure out which of these athletes should I go with, okay? And so there's this whole industry that exists called agents, right? So these agents, you've heard of this, maybe you heard of Jerry Maguire or what's another agent? Drew Rosenhaus, somebody like that, right?
Students think of The Rock from Ballers.
The Rock from Ballers, right? Yeah. So The Rock, and that agent is like, all right, I got these ones, okay? So you got to come to me to get these guys. And then this one's just got these two. And then this one's just got this one. And then this one's got this one, okay? So there's that part. And then all these agents, they have to be a part of these, players associations, like a union, like the NFL Players Association, who runs all these guys. So let's say that these guys, I'm trying to write associations quickly. All right, so these guys are the NFLPA. So these are NFL players over here. And then there's the NBPA over here. So these are basketball players. So there's this whole part of it where it's like, all right, you have to navigate these things. So you're a business owner and you want to do a deal with this guy right here. Then to get to this guy, you're going to have to go and contact the NFLPA. He's going to introduce you to this agent, who is then going to have a conversation with this guy about doing a deal. Okay. So that's access. You're trying to find a way to access that athlete, and you have to go through these different steps. That's once you figured out who to work with. But what if instead of picking this guy, you should have picked this guy? And once you find out that this guy is going to cost you $10,000 and you only have $1,000 to spend, then you got to start over. So then you got to go back to here. Who's going to introduce you to this guy? Who's going to talk to this guy? Who's going to go back? And then finally, like, you're going to do a deal with this person. So you've checked the box. You got access to this dude. Now you have to get him to actually do something. So you have to get that athlete to show up and do what you paid them to do, which in our example, it's social media. So like you're a business owner and you want to pay Patrick Mahomes to tweet about your business. So let's say that you are Adidas. Okay. So Adidas picks out Patrick and they want him to tweet something. They got access to him by navigating through this, but now they have to get him to actually go to his social media account, push out a message that reaches his fans. And to do that, it's not just between Patrick. He's got a marketing manager over here that this has to go from the business person to the NFL, to the agent, to Patrick, to the marketing manager, to Twitter, and then out the door. This is enough, guys, just one example to pull your hair out. Like, it is a very frustrating, challenging process. There's a lot of people involved, okay? So what we realize is that athletes, when they say the right thing, right place, right time, are incredibly valuable. Athletes are also incredibly hard to access. It's very difficult to understand who you should work with, how to get a hold of them, and once you get a hold of them, for them to actually do something, right? So what we did at Opendorse is built a technology where it's like going to Amazon, okay? And you log in to Opendorse, right? Just go to your browser, you log in, and then you're entered in this world where you just select which athletes you want. You can compare, you can shop, you can sort, right? And then once you find that person, right, then you're able to take that, write out, hey, I want Patrick. This is the amount that I want to pay him. And here's the thing I want him to say, at this date and time. And you hit send, right? And then that goes straight into Patrick's phone, right? So this is Patrick. And he's like, oh, wow. Dang it, that doesn't look at Patrick. Now he's got Patrick Mahomes here. And on his phone, it says, Patrick, Adidas wants to pay you $10,000, okay? And this is the crescendo of this. there's a red button. Oh, and then there's a green button. If you like it, hit the green button. And then what Opendorse does is takes that message and sends that out to your fans on Twitter automatically. So we took the process that used to take months and now it takes minutes. And we do this for 13,000 athletes around the world, from Patrick Mahomes to Tiger Woods to Alex Morgan to Prince Amukamara to old schmucks like me, Blake Lawrence. But we help thousands of athletes do this every day. So more businesses can reach more fans faster and not have to navigate all of the challenges that existed before Opendorse.
That is an amazing slide, and it's so funny how it all comes full circle, right? Like, you got your first job because other people didn't have the time to do it. You knew them, and now you're essentially doing the same thing for 13,000 of your best friends.
Yeah. I mean, because athletes, again, guys, your favorite athlete has worked so hard to get to that place, you know? And when I found out this problem with Prince, like, that we would get things here, it would get to Prince and he would just forget, like, he just wouldn't post. Like, this didn't happen. And what stunk is that he worked really hard to get that deal, and if he didn't fulfill it, like, he wouldn't be able to capitalize. And my career was done in a day. If his career was done in a day and I didn't solve this problem for him, then, like, I would feel like I'd be kicking myself, you know? So we build Opendorse to help one dude. And now thousands of athletes around the world. Like, who would have thunk, man? But yeah, you solve a problem and then you get deeper and deeper into it and you realize, like, oh, there's more. Then eventually you find yourself standing alone as, like, the only person that has seen, like, has kind of dug through all the dirt to find the opportunity. And now we get to do some stuff that's really cool on a daily basis.
So we're coming up on the end of the session. I did want to kind of just note, though, that I think for a lot of young students, I think they have to come up with the biggest, best idea in the world. You didn't come up with the idea of endorsement or a partnership or even sponsorship. All you did was recognize some of the gaps and you filled the gaps. I think that's something important. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be your idea to go to the moon. You just have to figure out how to get to the moon. And you can help a lot of people in a lot of different ways.
Yep. And that's, and then you wake up and you don't even realize, like, how far, like, things have come, you know, but you see this right here on the screen. Like, this is Patrick before he was even a starting quarterback for the Chiefs, you know, and you see right here, like, Opendorse made this happen, right? So it's just a simple login, click, search, sort, and then get it out the door. And we do this for some of the coolest and biggest names, like the highest paid athlete on the planet. But guys, we cared about Patrick Mahomes before he ever threw a pass in the NFL, right? And that's the thing, is that if you're listening to this, it is not just the superstars that have value. If you want to get into sports, there's probably a kid at your high school that is getting recruited somewhere, and what he needs help with is getting more coaches to know about him, right? And that might offer him a scholarship. And if you help him get a coach to notice him through social media, like, you just became a sports marketer. Like, you just became one step closer to understanding how this all works. Is that people, have limited attention and time. And if you can help them get what they want, saving time and creating value, like, you're on your way. And sports business doesn't have to wait until you're in college or in pros. Like, there's sports on your high school campus today. Find a way to say, how can I get more fans to watch this? How can I get more coaches to know about the top players on our team? Or if you are a player yourself, then how, you know, the stuff you're going through to get that scholarship offer is the same stuff you go through to get a endorsement offer. So you're already learning marketing on campus. And if I can go back and shake myself in high school and realize, like, hey, man, you're already doing it, then you got at least the building blocks for something great in sports.
That is the way to end an amazing keynote presentation. If I could draw on the whiteboard, I would draw a big fat thank you so much for your time, Blake. That was an amazing presentation. You really helped the students understand all the different aspects of the industry, how the money's changing hands. And obviously you hit them with some really great knowledge as far as looking at what they might want to do. They should look close to home, right? What are some of the challenges they're seeing with their high school teams or in around themselves, and they can provide a solution to that. And and surround themselves with good people like you had your brother and some other folks, and then the rest is there.
It's perfect, man. Well, I'm glad that I could do a little doodling. And I'm here to help. I mean, I'm going to be in this industry for a long time, and hopefully hiring some of the folks that are listening in, watching in, or helping them tweet, man, watching these guys go pro and help them make some money or even make some dough in college.
Blake, thank you so much on behalf of Sam and Jeff as co-founders and our locker room leader, Christian. I can't tell how much we appreciate your time. This was really awesome. Thank you so much.
Appreciate y'all.
Thanks, man. Bye, all.